I think one of the most exciting things to witness right now across social media is how close the left and the right are to uniting. And of course, there are some staunch far leftists and far right-wingers who will never see beyond their narrow little silo that they've been pushed into. But most people are somewhere in the middle. And this is how we used to be back in the 90s. To me, that was a golden era. I loved the 90s because the world was pretty conservative at the time. And all of us anti-establishment types were hippie leftists. But a lot of those have grown up to be like myself, right-wing Gen Xers, or so-called right-wing Gen Xers. We're not right-wing, we're true leftists, but we've been pushed to the right because we're still anti-establishment, and the establishment has taken on the sort of false liberal leftist ideology that they push in order to appear like they care about you. And we're so close to seeing this and uniting on this, all of us. That's why the whole world is up in arms and everybody is revolting against this, that, and the other. But they're keeping us divided and they're keeping us fighting over stupid things so that we don't unite. And the things have been getting stupider and stupider over the last few years. And a lot of us are seeing through this now. And that's one of the things that is so beautiful about social media, because although a lot of people are, as I said, deeply siloed, there's a growing number of people, and a lot of my followers are in this boat, who are leftists or liberals or whatever you want to call them. And there are also people who follow me who are right-wingers or conservative. But they're discussing things in the comments section. That's where a lot of the meeting of minds happens, in my comments. And what happened recently with the TikTok ban, the 14-hour TikTok ban, and the mass migration of so-called TikTok refugees over to Chinese social media app Red Note, that opened up a really interesting debate on the meaning of free speech versus freedom, true freedom, and how in some ways a communist regime which doesn't allow free speech in some ways allows greater freedoms in some areas of life than our so-called democracy, where we do have so-called free speech, and yet there are so many things we're not allowed to talk about without getting punished. It's not written in the law that we can't talk about those things. They don't tell us, like the CCP tells the Chinese, that we can't talk about those things, but they punish us for it. And in the UK, thousands of people have been arrested for sharing social media posts. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, the point that we're at now, where everybody in the West is realizing that we're all being oppressed and we don't have free speech, but we're finding ways to exercise it creatively. And this is what my folks do in China too. They have found so many ways to get around the online censorship using metaphor and emojis and all kinds of silly little tricks that then go viral. Suddenly, one week, everybody is using a certain emoji to mean something, and then the government catches on and they ban that emoji and they remove all the posts featuring that emoji, and then they'll find another one, or they'll come up with some kind of a pun, and everybody knows what it means, but the government is always a step behind. And it's becoming like that in the West. I'm always having to use code language to say certain things. And there is so much that I want to talk about in my videos that I cannot, because I've been punished many times before by these apps. And so all the juiciest stuff is in my comments. But I'm getting wary of that now, even because I feel that we're not that far behind with the censorship of comments. I know that TikTok is really strict about removing comments, and it's mostly around hurty words. They block any comment that has even a mildly offensive tone to it. And I've had that happen to me many times before, where I've said something that I didn't even mean it to be offensive, but there's a word in there that could be an insult, and so you have to just repost it with another word. You need a thesaurus nowadays in order to not get your comments blocked regularly, or you need a brain like a thesaurus, which is what I've got. But as I said earlier, I think it's great that the conversations are happening. And most people are now no longer so brainwashed by the media that they won't even entertain a conversation with someone on the other side of the political divide. We all know people like that. Those are the ones that the right calls libtards, because they don't hate all liberals or progressives or leftists or whatever you want to call them. I know liberal has a different meaning in the UK and in America, and there's also the old school meaning of the word, which is not the same as the new meaning of the word, which means progressive, woke, leftist, whatever you want to call it. But libtards are the ones who won't talk to you and will insult you, call you, you know what they call you. They call you all these names to silence you because they don't want to discuss with you, because they don't have a coherent argument. They just were told that they're supposed to disagree with you. But that's a minority now. And most people are somewhere in the middle. And I've been in the middle all my life, because as I've said many times before, I'm old enough to have lived through both left and right-wing regimes, and I've lived in different countries, and I've seen how nothing really changes, because when they're in power, they all behave the same. And there's like a moment after a victory of one side or the other, where everything is like, ooh, change. And then you're waiting for that change. There's a few minor changes, but the big change doesn't happen, because the changes are often just little policies, language use, a few cents out of every tax dollar put towards this instead of that. But at the end of the day, those at the top are still our oppressors. And because I'm a realist, nothing phases me. Don't get too caught up in it. Just focus on yourself. Focus on your family. Focus on your day-to-day life and being your best self, being healthy and happy and successful within the confines of this crazy system, this dysfunctional system. Make it function for you. And that arguably is how the Chinese live, under their system of oppression. And since the Red Note Rebellion happened, a lot of people have been talking to people that they would not have considered talking to before. There's been a partial breakdown of the wall between left and right, united against our beloved TikTok being taken away from us, because we have both used it to connect with our audiences. And one thing that has been really incredible to see is that the woke left were the first ones to go over to Red Note, and they loved it, obviously. They made so many new connections with the Chinese, and they learned so many things about life in China, and a lot of them have been learning Mandarin, and the Chinese have learned a lot from them about life in America. Well, through their eyes, obviously, their perception of life in America. But at the same time, we also have right-wingers who've been told for years to fear and to hate China, who've also realized that they've been lied to, and a lot of the things that they've heard about China are not true. And that's been an awakening too. Of course, nobody denies the censorship. Everybody on both sides can see it. But there are a lot of positives. And there's people like the legendary Tony from LC Lightbox, the sign company in China, the famous Chinese Donald Trump impersonator. China, China, China. I can't do it like him. And there's another guy who, I can't remember his name, Trump by Ryan or something like that, who's so beloved among conservative Americans and has done so much for the national image of China. So I think they both deserve national honors for their services towards peace between China and America. And I think I do as well while I'm at it, but I'm not quite as well known. And the second guy I was telling you about, do you know what? I'd have to look up, I think it's Trump by Ryan. Hold on a sec. No, I opened my TikTok and he's the first person that appears in my feed.
People ask me, what do people do during this time? One of the best activities is to play the King of Glory together. Its Chinese name is called 王者荣耀. It's literally the #1 cell phone game in China. It's a very popular game. Look at this, my friends. They're playing it. They're having a very good time. Having a very good time. Hey, when they play the game, of course, we have heated moments together, but you know what, folks? It happens. Some people, they carry the team the wrong way. It could be intense. But you know what? That's how we build friendship. It's also a very energetic thing that keeps people warm in a cold...
I don't even know what he's talking about right now.
Contrast, right? So guys, when you travel in China, don't forget to play this King of Glory. Very nice way to make friends with Chinese people. Nice game. I love it. Folks, the Chinese New Year is here.
It doesn't matter what he's talking about. He just draws you right in there and holds your attention. And do you know what's amazing about him? He is so fluent in English and he sounds exactly like Donald Trump, but he's never been to America. Can you believe that? He learned to speak like that in China from just watching Donald Trump on the telly. What an inspiration, huh? Anyway, he is a national hero. Him and Tony from LC Lightbox. Oh wait, I was gonna tell you his name. That's the reason I opened it up in the first. Hold on a sec.
It's a very special time.
Oh, he's changed his name. He used to be called Trump by Ryan. Now, okay, no, his handle, his @ is still Trump by Ryan, but his username is now Chinese Trump. Oh my God. Yeah, he's a legend. And him, along with Tony from LC Lightbox, you could say they are ambassadors. They are the true ambassadors of China. If we reach a point where we have world peace, or peace between America and China, and we don't go to war as they've been threatening to, well, as the Americans have been threatening to for years, it's because of those two. In fact, whenever I see Trump on TV, I'm like, oh my God, he's just like Tony. The way his mannerisms, he's just like Tony. Or Ryan, actually. Now I think Ryan, sorry Tony, no, I love you Tony, but Tony also does a lot of other impersonations too. He doesn't just do Trump, but Ryan is Trump. He is actually, that's who he is. Like if I ever meet him, that's how I expect him to talk to me, as Donald Trump. But again, no, to me, he is the star now, not Donald. And every time I see Donald, he reminds me of Ryan. So well done, Ryan. I'm so proud of you. And you're such an inspiration. Anyway, that was a big digression. I can't remember what the point of this video was. But whatever the point was, I've made it now. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like as usual. And do please leave me your comments. And hit the little bell thing so you get notified when I post a new video too. That really helps. Thank you very much.